Okay, be honest. Have you ever zoned out and thought, man, if I could just unlock the rest of my brain, I could be like writing symphonies or something? Or, I don't know, solving crazy physics problems.
Yeah.
We've all heard that thing about only using 10% of our brains, right?
Oh, yeah. Classic.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into the truth behind that idea.
Okay, sounds good.
We're using this article, What If Your Mind Operated at 100%?
Cool.
We're going to bust some myths and hopefully reveal some pretty interesting stuff about what our brains can really do. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny how that myth has stuck around for so long.
It really is.
It makes you wonder why people are so into the idea of having like all this hidden brain power.
Right. Like we all secretly want to be superheroes or something.
Exactly.
But before we start picturing ourselves with telekinesis, we should probably get the facts straight.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's the real deal? What does neuroscience actually say about this whole 10% thing?
Well, there's this neuroscientist, Erin Hecht, and she said it pretty straight up.
Okay.
We are always using our entire brain.
Wow. Okay, so no secret compartments with superpowers then, huh?
Not quite. It's more like, think of a really busy city.
Okay.
All the different parts of the city have their own special thing they do,
Yeah,
But they've got to work together for the whole thing to run smoothly.
that makes sense.
So yeah, we use 100% of our brains.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean there's no room for improvement.
Interesting. How so?
Well, think about your phone. You use all of it, right?
Yeah.
But you can still, get new apps and figure out better ways to use it.
Right, so like optimize the settings and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing with our brains.
I like that analogy. So how do we apply that to our brains? Like if we look at all those super smart people throughout history, like Einstein, Da Vinci, Marie Curie,
Oh yeah, those guys.
did they just win the brain lottery or something?
It's really fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
Studies show that their brains weren't actually bigger. It wasn't about the size. It was about how they used them.
So what set them apart then?
It was how they trained their brains, like their focus and curiosity.
Okay.
And they were super dedicated to what they did, which I think really made them exceptional.
So it's more about the software than the hardware?
Exactly.
But how do we even start to develop that kind of focus? Like what triggers those aha moments?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
This Harvard neuroscientist, Roger Beatty, he's been studying creative people.
Cool.
He found that there's something unique happening in their brains.
Oh.
They have better communication between these key neural networks.
Okay, before we go any further, can we back up for a sec?
Sure.
What exactly is a neural network? When I hear that, I picture something out of a sci-fi movie, to be honest.
I get that it does sound kind of complicated.
Oh.
But basically, it's a bunch of brain cells, those neurons that send information, all connected and working together to do specific things.
Okay.
Like one network might be all about processing what you see,
Got it.
and another one handles language and stuff.
So what's so different about the networks in those creative people that this guy Beatty was looking at?
Well, he found three that are super important for creativity. First, you've got the default network.
Okay.
That one's active when you're just letting your mind wander, like when you're daydreaming.
Ah, so it's like where the brainstorms.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Then there's the executive control network, which is like a filter.
A filter.
Yeah, it checks out those ideas from the default network and helps you decide what to do with them.
Interesting.
And then there's a third network that helps you switch between those two. So you can bounce between brainstorming and deciding.
So it's like having a brainstorming session in your own head with different parts of your brain pitching ideas and then analyzing them.
Exactly. And what Beatty found is that creative people have really smooth communication between these networks. It's like their brains are having this awesome flowing conversation, which leads to those aha moments.
That's pretty cool. So even if we're not all aiming to be the next Einstein, understanding how those networks work can help us be more creative, right?
Totally. And the article we're looking at has some real science-backed tips to boost those brain skills.
Okay, let's get into that. Everyone wants to know how to make their brain work better, right? What can we actually do? So we're talking about practical stuff to make our brains work better. What does the article say?
Well, one of the biggest things is just keep learning.
Makes sense.
This neuroscientist, Marion Diamond, she said, use it or lose it.
It's true, right? If you don't challenge your brain, it's not going to stay sharp.
Exactly. Our brains are super adaptable.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Neuroplasticity, right?
Yeah, that's it. It means they can rewire themselves their whole lives.
So, like, we can always teach an old dog new tricks.
Ah, Pretty much.
Cool.
So whether you're learning like a language or an instrument or just reading a ton, you're basically giving your brain a workout, helping it make new connections.
So learning keeps our brains flexible. What else can we do?
This one might surprise you. Exercise.
Really?
And I don't mean like Sudoku.
Oh, right. Haha.
Real physical activity is huge for your brain.
You know, I always feel like I think better after a good workout.
Yeah.
Like I can solve problems easier or come up with new ideas.
And that's not just you. There's real science behind it.
Cool.
Exercise pumps up the blood flow to your brain, bringing all the good stuff it needs.
Okay.
It also helps grow new brain cells
Yeah.
and strengthens connections between them. So that post-workout clarity you're talking about, that's your brain getting a boost from the exercise.
So learning and exercise. Got it. What about things like meditation?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I've heard that can be really good for you too.
Mindfulness and meditation are super powerful for your brain.
Just so.
They've been shown to improve focus, reduce stress, and even help you manage your emotions better.
Interesting. You know, when I'm trying to solve a tough problem or come up with something creative,
Yeah.
if I'm all stressed out, my mind's just a mess. Like I can't even think straight.
That's exactly what these practices help with.
Makes sense.
By training your mind to focus on now and let go of all the distracting thoughts,
Okay.
you create space for clarity and insight. And the benefits go beyond just feeling calmer. Studies have shown that regular meditation can actually increase the gray matter in your brain.
No way. So it's like actually changing the structure of our brain.
Exactly. Pretty amazing. Right. And of course, we can't forget sleep.
So important.
We all know how much it matters for our overall well-being,
Oh, yeah.
but it's also super important for memory and for clearing out toxins that build up in your brain during the day.
I definitely know I'm not at my best when I'm tired. It's like my brain's running on empty.
Uh-huh. Good way to put it.
Thanks.
Sleep is like a nightly reset for your brain, giving it a chance to recharge.
Okay.
And lastly, we need to talk about diet. What you eat affects your brain a lot.
Right. Makes sense.
Eating a balanced diet with brain-boosting nutrients can make a huge difference.
So it's like putting good fuel in your car?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Foods rich in omega-3s, antioxidants, and vitamins like B6, B12, and folate are really good for your brain. Leafy greens, fatty fish, nuts, seeds, those are all great options.
Got it. Add those to the shopping list.
Uh-huh.
This is all awesome advice. I like knowing there are so many things we can actually do to keep our brains healthy. But what about those eureka moments, those times when a great idea just pops into your head out of nowhere?
The eureka moment. Everyone loves those.
Right.
It's funny because those moments often don't happen when we're actually trying super hard to solve something.
Really? So staying up all night cramming might not be the best way to get those breakthroughs.
Probably not. This neuropsychologist, Rex Young, has studied this stuff. He says those breakthroughs often come when our minds are more relaxed.
Interesting.
Think about it. You're on a walk, listening to music, maybe just daydreaming,
Yeah.
and suddenly the answer you've been looking for just pops into your head.
Oh, yeah. I've totally had that happen.
See, and it happens because when we step away from all that focused thinking, our brains can make new connections. It's like giving your subconscious a chance to work on the problem in the background.
So it's like your brain is working on it even when you're not consciously thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And then when the time's right, boom, it gives you the solution.
So it's not about forcing those eureka moments, but more about setting the stage for them to happen.
Exactly. And all those things we talked about earlier, like meditation, exercise, sleep,
Right.
those all help create a better environment for those insights to come to you.
That makes sense. You know, it reminds me of this Neil deGrasse Tyson quote. For me, I am driven by two main philosophies. Know more today about the world than I knew yesterday, and lessen the suffering of others.
I love that quote.
Me too.
Yeah,
It's like this call to use our knowledge to make things better.
it really is. And it highlights something important. Unlocking your brain power isn't just about being smart for no reason.
Right.
It's about using what you know to make a real difference in the world.
I like that. It shifts the focus from how much of my brain am I using to what am I doing with the awesome brain I already have.
Exactly. It's about owning your potential, your talents, your passions, and using them to do something bigger than yourself.
You know, it makes you think about all those times I surprised myself with what I was able to learn or do. Like when I pushed myself outside my comfort zone and realized I could do way more than I thought.
Those moments are so powerful. They remind us that our potential is always growing.
And it all comes back to belief, right? Like Gandhi said, a man often becomes what he believes himself to be. If we believe we can do more, we're more likely to go for it, you know?
Absolutely.
Push our limits and actually achieve it. And maybe that's the sneaky good thing about that whole 10% myth.
What do you mean?
It makes us want to be better, to push ourselves further.
That's a really good point. It reminds us that even wrong ideas can sometimes push us to do amazing things. And that in itself just shows how powerful our minds really are.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it, the potential we all have just sitting there in our brains.
It really is.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. Stephen Hawking, he once said, "Remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious." So, what are you curious about today?
That's a great question to ask yourself.
Right.
Curiosity is what makes us want to learn to explore new things, to see what's out there.
It's like that little spark that starts us on a lifetime of discovery. And as we've learned today, you're already using all of your brain.
The whole thing.
But there's always more to discover about how it works.
That's right, absolutely.
And how to make the most of it.
Definitely. It's a journey, not a destination.
So true. So keep those brains working, keep asking questions, and never lose that sense of wonder.
Exactly. Keep those minds sharp.
And keep diving deep.
Catch you next time.